A Virginia County School Board is reinstating Confederate names to 2 schools, reversing a decision made 4 years ago in the wake of the death of George Floyd. In a 5-1 vote, the Shenandoah County Public School Board reversed a previous board's 2020 decision to change the names of schools linked to Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and Turner Ashby, 3 racists who led the pro-slavery Southern states during the Civil War. The decision came after an hours-long meeting. More than 50 people opposed the reversal. Here is some of what took place.
I can't believe that we're here again. I really am heartbroken that a room full of people that I grew up with and knew feel the way that they do. I cannot understand how we can listen to a parade of white people tell us there was no racism at Stonewall Jackson High School. The only people that we need to hear from in terms of racism are the people that suffered from racism, my African American brothers and sisters. I really would like to advocate for my brothers and sisters and suggest that we not change the names back because it hurts people. I don't think that people are taking into consideration they are hurting their friends and neighbors by sitting up here and saying that racism still doesn't exist. I suggest that even changing the names back is an active act of racism. There is no reason to even bring the issue up except to make a point that, well, we're not going to let liberal wokes tell us what to do. Well, I resent being told what to do. I'm a Shenandoah County native. I don't like people from outside coming here and telling me what to do either. But I know right and wrong. And it's not right to be deliberately racist. It's not right to make statements that are deliberately racist. And it is absolutely wrong not to take into consideration the passionate feelings of my African American brothers and sisters.
First of all, this is one final chance to decide whether Shenandoah County is going to maintain names that are non-controversial, names that will remain non-controversial. Nobody needs to argue about the name Mountain View or Honey Run. Chances are, at some point, if these names are reversed, they will be reversed again, okay? The basis for the Confederacy is best spelled out in the cornerstone speech of Alexander Stephens, Vice President of the Confederacy. He made it very clear that secession and their purpose was to maintain what they said was the view that black people were inferior and were destined to live in slavery. Robert E. Lee believed nothing less. Stonewall Jackson, we don't have too many statements from him on it, but we know what he fought for. Turner Ashby led a mob raiding the home of an anti-slavery plantation owner in Clark County. Okay, these are things that this heritage, as we call it, are about. I understand sentimental attachments. I went to Central. Fortunately, that name is never going to be argued about either. But the thing is, people talk about generals. You can still be generals. Mountain View generals, okay? If people are attached to that name, that's already there. But do we want to be remembered as the county that reversed these names to bring back this horrible history and celebrate slavery and those who fought for it? Or do we wish to maintain names and be in the 21st century? Thank you.
Now, according to the Virginia Department of Education, more than 5,600 students attend Shenandoah County Public Schools. 75% are white, 18% are Hispanic, and 3% are black. My panel, Michael Imhotep, hosts the African History Network show out of Detroit, Kelly Bethel, communication strategist out of Washington, D.C., Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Well, Kelly, these white racists, they love Confederate monuments. and they didn't give a damn what those white folks there had to say. It goes to show you that the party today that stands and supports the Confederacy, Republicans, conservatives.
Well, yeah, I mean, this does not surprise me. I'm actually more surprised at the fact that initiatives such as this haven't been more prevalent since 2020 and the death of George Floyd, and that there were conversations out there of people really thinking that these initiatives such as renaming things, taking down statues and the like would be reversed eventually because it was geared towards basically performative activism. And the board in Virginia seemed to agree with that sentiment and thought that, oh, we are past George Floyd now. We are past Black Lives Matter now. So we can slip this under the radar and get our stuff back and make America great again, or whatever the mantra is or the motive is to basically preserve racist history. From just an American perspective of this, it makes absolutely no sense to keep names of Confederate anything in American lexicon, being a statue or a school or any type of monument, because you are literally upholding the traitors of this country, because that's what they are. That is exactly what they are. So, trying to preserve racism aside, it makes no sense to want to preserve traitorous history either.
These folks love their white domestic terrorists, Matt. Pure and simple.
They absolutely do. And, Kelly was 100% right. This is treason, and this is the glorification of treason. Now, I'll tell you what is particularly academically interesting to me about this scenario is, at least in what I read, there's an allegation that a large majority of people in that community want those schools to be renamed. That's abhorrent and it's reprehensible, and there's no question about that. I do think, however, that calls into question what is government's role in basically protecting us from universal mores like not celebrating treason. The idea that 90-something% of people in that community would want these schools to be renamed, irrespective of their history, is terrifying, but it's also disgusting, right? Because it's like we should have a baseline that we're not going to glorify those who separated from the United States to keep us in chains. But the fact that some large majority of people there wants to keep that is extremely concerning, and concerning. And I think it calls into question what does government do, right? Because majority rule would have these schools be renamed in the honor of these Confederate traitors. And obviously we can't allow that as a society. So I do think it calls into question how we reconcile that issue. However, I think Kelly really hit the nail on the head, because the thing I've never understood about these conversations is these are the same people who say make America great again, and they're jingoistic when it comes to Colin Kaepernick refusing to sing the national anthem or to salute the flag, right? Then it's all about America. But when it comes to the Confederacy, it's about heritage, and that heritage is in direct contravention to support of America. So that it's illogical, number one, and it's truly rooted in white supremacy. And I'm hoping that the school board there makes the decision that makes sense, irrespective of a majority wanting those names changed back.
Well, bottom line is, Michael, they're going to go along with it, with what people say there. And they're going to change the names back because they want to honor those white racist domestic terrorists. That's who they are, and we have to call them that. They're not Confederate heroes. They committed treason. They are white racist domestic terrorists.
They committed treason based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution that most of those people there probably haven't read. Yes, they are traitors, but also this was to be expected. Because when they changed the names, so if we go back to 2020, after George Floyd was killed May 25th, 2020, right, there was this whole racial reckoning that took place in various parts of the country, right? And people felt pressured to change the names, take down Confederate monuments, things of this nature. They didn't really want to, okay? A black man had to be killed on camera, and the video goes viral for something like this to take place. So when we look at this here, if we, going to what Kelly said, if we deal with rational people, it doesn't make sense to honor traitors. But when you deal with the fact that the South seceded from the Union to keep slavery and more importantly, maintain the wealth that slavery generated, and we look at the two periods of times in this country where you had the most Confederate monuments, it was right between about 1880 to about 1920, and then during the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, and these are periods of time when you had advances by African Americans, and they were erected to try to keep us in a subservient place. So we're seeing this backlash now, the attack on DEI, the overturning of affirmative action when it comes to college admissions. Okay, we're seeing all this backlash right now. So we have to understand this is a constant fight, and we have to understand this history of how we fought against this in the past.
Well, folks, don't be surprised if you don't see more of this.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.